All right. Well, hey there. Hi, everybody. My name is Scott King, and I'm joined by Sam Abadir. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how are you, Scott?
I'm great, and I'm really excited to talk about third-party risk. And we talk about AI in the context of AI on this podcast all the time. Sam, I don't know if you noticed the Outlook meeting invite because it said third party, and Microsoft actually put balloons on the meeting invitation.
You know, I love third-party risk, but I don't think that it's that type of party that they were thinking about. I think that they were thinking of it as a Friday happy hour party.
Yeah, maybe so.
I got some weird friends that we talk about IT risk at happy hour, but I don't think that was. I don't think AI had picked that up the right way.
No. But we talk about AI having contextual answers that the AI produces. So the third party definitely was off. I'm infamous for never going to the second party, like the after party, because they're never as much fun. And so I can imagine like the third party would even be.
There ain't no party like an after party.
Yeah, there's the second after party would be too much. but we're talking about IT risk, right? So third party IT risk. So we're all familiar with ransomware attacks, data breaches. LastPass has been just getting killed in the news lately. I've been looking at that because I'm a LastPass user.
I've changed my LastPass password many times recently.
Yeah, you have to. But, it's a big concern. You read 10K reports, you read annual reports, and, IT and third-party risk is, number one, right? So more than 7 in 10 organizations fear that third parties have too much control over their data. Like they have too many permissions, they have access to too many areas. And then last year, 44% of the organizations that said they had a data breach, 75 said it stemmed from third parties.
Right.
So what's third party risk? And beyond the obvious, why is it important for us to really look and manage this for our businesses?
Every business has third parties. Unless you're a janitorial service, a small mom and pop janitorial service, right, where you're the one being outsourced to, everybody has third parties. And they, in the world of IT risk and the world of information technology, we've found that having outsourced IT, no matter what it is basically a requirement for doing business today. Whether it's using your Office 365, that's a third party. Whether it's somebody that's hosting your servers and your intranet and your all of your business applications, that's third party. It even could be the consultants that are coming in to do change management with you guys or implement new systems. All those things are third party risk. It's just too expensive for most companies to even do their own payroll. That's why we send it out to places like ADP, or tons of those other types of services. And when you work with those people, you have to give them, for instance, payroll. Scott, for the payroll company that makes your payroll, do they have to have your first name, your last name, your social security number, your address, your phone number? Well, that's enough information to go get a mortgage loan from if they were able to steal it. So third-party risk is happening because not everybody is as robust with their risk management of their data as you are with yours. And sometimes inherently too, right? Because we have to do this via API or by batch file or things like that, and we're actually transmitting a lot of this data, it just opens up the opportunity for more bad things to happen.
Yeah, safe to say anything that I log into or any kind of API access somewhere else is a third party, and pretty much that's everything, right? Like I can't think of a piece of software that actually sits on my computer other than like GarageBand.
Right.
Even the Microsoft apps, they're all cloud based.
And even in your own homegrown apps, right? If your company builds your own app, a lot of people build their own internal tools, but they'll use open source tools to go do that, right? Or they'll use somebody else's database to build everything upon. You might remember You might remember when MongoDB, it's a very common database, put out a new update at one point in time. And when they put the update out nobody realized that they had a port open, and except for the bad guys. The bad guys found it out quite quickly. And it led to a lot of data breaches because nobody really checked that. And that's a third-party risk, right? You're using somebody else's software to build your own, still a risk.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's challenging, right? So if everything is third party, or most, I'm definitely going to say most things are third party, and it's the number one risk in, organizations. If you read, I always pick on the big banks, right? Because I read their annual reports, because it summarizes basically the entire world. And they say that IT risk and third party risk is number one.
Banking
so it's really challenging to manage all this. So, but isn't there software to do this, like to help us manage this third-party IT risk?
There's a lot of different pieces of software to manage risk in general, right? But then, and you can look at things like governance, risk, and compliance tools, GRC tools. They're good at telling you where risk might lie and helping you manage identified risks. Then you have other ancillary tools, such as, in the cybersecurity world, you have configuration scanners and vulnerability scanners and things like that. But I'm telling you what, there's so many tools and there's so many ways that your data can be attacked. IAM tools, things like that. There's all sorts of different things to do. And frankly, you're going to, unless you're working at Amazon or somewhere, you're going to be really hard pressed to find you're going to find an information security team that is so robust and well-staffed with the right people, with the right folks, that are going to be able to find every single thing, every single way, and be able to manage all those different opportunities for data to be lost. And then that doesn't even count the people risk, right? And the number one way that data is lost is through phishing, right? It's for simple things. Hey, I'm part of IT support. Give me your password so I can fix this problem I found on your thing. And believe it or not, so many people fall for things like that. And it leads to all the things you talked about earlier, data losses.
Yeah, I got two of those this week. One was, hey, your Outlook password is about to expire.
Right.
Click here and make sure if you want to keep your same password. I was
right.
Like, wow, that it's overzealous. And the other one was, I had it looked like a fake financial transaction. It was
right.
kicked back. It's kicked back to me like, hey, something happened. We're returning this money. And it was a WAV file. I'm like, okay, there's no way
right that
I'm opening this. Right. I mean,
what happened to me this week? I have a bike for sale, and I'm selling it on Facebook. And this guy, I thought he was being careful. I thought he was really interested. He asked a bunch of questions. He said, for my protection, I just want to make sure I'm talking to the right person. First, he already established he was going to pay me with Venmo or something like that. So I gave him my email address, and he goes, I'm just going to send you a text. I need you to reply to the text. So, and tell me the number that I text you. That way I know that it's actually you. And he sent me something, and it was the Google reset password. He was trying to get into my email to reset my password. And I was smart enough to understand exactly what he was doing. So I quickly shut that down. But it was a very good approach.
Yeah. Well, that explains a little bit about the people risk, right? Because, if you're not paying attention, and like I'm hyper aware of it, right? I sold security software for the last 6 years. So, like super aware. And even like my kids and my wife, they don't click on anything or download anything, right? Because they're just scared the hell out of them. But if companies have all these GRC tools to measure this risk, you have all the compliance mandates, payment card, HIPAA, GDPR, and they have all these tools to do all this. what are some of the challenges of just using the tools, right? Because you still have the people risk, and then these tools, may be helpful. They may be not. I'm not really familiar with this, but you are. So, what are some of the challenges of the GRC tools?
In my background, I have a lot of GRC tool experience, and I'm gonna oversimplify this just for the podcast here, but you're gonna have basically two types of users: people who use GRC tools all the time, and they have no problem finding their way around and working through the different workflows and answering the questionnaires or assessments or things like that. They have no problem doing that. And then you have casual users, and casual users are, frankly, the biggest group of people. And some of your casual users are going to be the vendor owners, right? Some of your casual users are going to be the vendors themselves, third parties themselves, and then just any other first line of person who occasionally sees something, occasionally has to go log into the tool once or twice a year, goes and takes their information security assessment and reads the policy online. Because face it, who goes and reads policies, your corporate policies, every single day? Nobody, unless you're the person who's authoring them. So those people,
not unless it requires me to get paid or something.
Exactly, right? But those people forget how to use the tool. They just do, and it's nothing wrong. You can't fault them. Some tools are easy to use, some tools aren't that easy to use. But when you don't use it, when you don't come into it, you've got to remember this. You got to remember your password, which is probably expired. Then you've got to go reset that. Sometimes that has a self-service, sometimes it doesn't. But it makes it really difficult to use. And additionally, right, if you think about, and if you don't know this, right, go talk to the people that are doing vendor assessments. If you are a decent sized company at all, or let's say you're a healthcare organization or a highly regulated organization, even a medium sized or a small sized bank, go ask the person in charge of third party risk how many vendor assessments they send out a year. It's hundreds, and it's so many. And now think about it from the vendor's end. How many vendor assessments are they getting every year? They're very common, and this is actually one of the big problems. There's a very common approach to managing risk, which is just sending out assessments and seeing how well other people are doing things, right? How well are your third parties doing things? If you've ever taken one of those assessments, it's literally 100 to 1,000 questions long. It takes forever to answer, and it's very difficult. And if you're a company, let's say that you are a company that makes banking software or maybe makes checks or something like that, you're probably getting hundreds, if not thousands, of different requests every year for people to fill out this particular assessment or a version of an assessment. You're going to want to streamline that process. You can't just manually go into every single GRC tool and poke away and answer the same question every single time for every single one of your customers. It's not scalable. So instead, you're going to hand them a packet of information. You can say, hey, look, me and my team, we've gone through, we've prepared all this information. Here it is for you. And you can see that we are secure. That doesn't, now if you want to use that GRC tool, somebody's got to get all of that data into that GRC tool so that you can do the reporting that you need and have the visibility and have the reminders and things like that. That's a big problem. It really is. And you find that lots of third-party risk management organizations or third-party risk management departments are just backlogged on their assessments, which means that anytime that somebody answers a question and it's not answered the way that you want it to, you should be creating an issue out of that. And it means that there's lots of issues that are not captured, or even more issues that might be captured but yet to be followed up on because it's just
when you say issue, Sam, you mean like in a ticketing system or something like that?
Yeah. Do you have an information security policy? They answered no. Well, that's an issue. And you need to go put that into your ticket system so you can help find the right resolution to that. Do you stop using the vendor? Do you make sure that they actually answer the question the right way? What is it? There's an interaction, a back and forth, and that wave of issues keeps coming, but then you keep getting this big pile of more activities that need to be orchestrated between you and the third party or you and other people in the company to actually resolve the issue and manage the risk.
Interesting. So if there's a backlog and, I can imagine like sending out a survey, because I have to reply to RFIs all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, I know I've done this before. I'm always looking for the old document, right?
Right.
But if I got, a big packet, couldn't I use some type of AI, some kind of document understanding type of functionality to read what I'm getting from the vendor and put it inside my tool? Is that how I overcome some of that? Or you listed some challenges. So I'm just kind of curious, like how do you get out from under that?
I don't think that people have really thought about using those types of AI pieces that you just talked about, document understanding and issue resolution and things like that. I don't think people have really thought about applying that to this. So when it comes out, it should be helping a lot of people flow through this, manage the incidents, coordinate with their third parties and their other internal risk management teams to make sure that we have the right resolution, because even if two people answer the same question the same way, the resolution to manage the risk might be very different. So they're all things that we have to figure out the right context for. It's a great space for AI to be in. I just don't think that there's that many people that are doing it yet, but let's see what comes up here in the very near future.
Okay. No, I dig it. And of all you just listening and not watching, Sam's been using his hands a whole lot. So if you got lost in some of his explanations, his hand motions on YouTube may be more helpful. But all right, Sam. So the tools are they do fix some inherent challenges of the process, but the tools have challenges themselves, and still, it sounds very process centric.
Yeah, GRC tools are very helpful to organizations, but they, for all the problems they solve, they can actually create some new problems. And I tell you what, you're still better off using a GRC tool than not using a GRC tool. But once you get a little taste of that, you generally want to do more and manage more risk and do a better job. AI is going to help you do a better job.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Sam, and thanks everybody for listening. Until next time.
Good to see you, Scott. Thanks.